Good day, everyone. I'm Krisffer Cabral.
I'm Kristen Grajeda.
I'm Roger Ositko.
We're students of the La Salle College of St. Benilde, Manila, and today we're going to present our research paper about a review on the unsustainable operations of major fast food chains in the Philippines. Let's start with our introduction.
Okay, so for our background of the study, fast food chains hold massive market shares in the Philippines, and they actively respond to the huge demand for cheap and easy to acquire food. Nonetheless, they also pose various problems to people for having poor working standards and promoting unhealthy eating habits. Their operations also involve unsustainable practices related to plastic usage and waste disposal that have contributed to the environmental degradation in the country. Hence, the study aims to analyze how the unsustainable practices in the operations of major fast food chains in the Philippines can be addressed. Next.
Related literature includes food industry, which is an important part of the economy in the world, sustainability, which is a necessary part of production, which combines different inputs to make a single product, food preference, which is cheap and easy to acquire food, the fast food industry, which includes McDonald's, KFC, and Jollibee, waste, because fast food chains generate a ton of unsustainable waste, convenience, because most people prefer to eat or buy meals at fast food restaurants, and customer satisfaction, which states the service quality.
The objectives of this study are as follows. The first objective, this study will identify the different unsustainable practices in the operations of major fast food chains in the Philippines. The second objective, this study allows the researchers to determine the effects of unsustainable practices in the operations of major fast food chain industry in the Philippines. The third objective, this study will recommend sustainable operational strategies in major fast food chains in the Philippines that can further be improved on. For the fourth and last objective, the study aims to determine the relationship between unsustainable practices and operations management in major fast food chains in the Philippines. Let's go into our methods. For the research design, the researchers use the descriptive method of research, which is describe situations. For the research participants, we gathered information from fast food chain consumers and experts in the food services industry and economics. For the sampling design, the researchers utilized a random sampling technique to obtain a total of 30 participants for the completion of the study. The samples were selected from the population of interest consumers in the top 5 Philippine fast food chains located in Metro Manila. On the other hand, interviews were selected using the convenient sampling method. The standards in choosing the participant for the interview are as follows: the availability and the profession. For the ethical considerations, we considered the right to inquire, right to opt out of the survey questionnaire or interviews, the right to withdraw their consent, and right for confidentiality. For the research and instruments, to gather the data and information needed in the study, the researchers formulated survey questions validated by Dr. Glenn S. Kabakang. To get the appropriate data needed, the researchers will have questionnaires with 4 parts.
Our procedure would start with research about the given topic. Then we design the necessary questions that are needed to be able to gather the data that we need. Then we will distribute our surveys to the sample. After that, we analyze the data gathered. Then we finally present our findings.
Okay, so for the results and discussions, we've conducted two surveys, one for the consumers and one for the owners and employees of these major fast food chains. So for research question 1, based on the conducted survey, the use of one-time plastics affects the perception of 89% of respondents because the fast food restaurant practices reflect the values that it upholds. Also, all in all, the majority of the responses pertain to the correlation between the values and practices of fast food restaurants concerning the preservation of the environment. About 79% of the respondents do not support the utilization of one-time plastics in fast food restaurants because it contributes to the notion that businesses care more about having lower expenditures than thinking about what is good for the environment. On the other hand, some respondents opted to support the use of one-time plastics since there are no other alternatives for now. And at this time of the pandemic, it is safer to use one-time materials.
For the owners, all of the respondents of the study mentioned different ways on how LGUs help in improving the practices performed in services offered by restaurants. This confirmed that LGUs indeed are doing concrete actions to combat the problem of unsustainable practices. Furthermore, most of the participants answered show that LGU actions in lessening unsustainable practices mostly focus on proper waste disposal and segregation and lower plastic consumption in waste. So most of the respondents who are business persons explain that they actively encourage or motivate their employees to do sustainable practices through different strategies like making employee reward systems and conducting seminars. Unfortunately, a participant of the study who is also an employee says that there is no help given. This shows that companies differ in giving support in attaining sustainability.
For research question 2, most of the respondents that answered the survey showed a direct correlation between the awareness of unsustainable practices and their consumption patterns. On the contrary, the small portion of the respondents who answered that their awareness does not affect their consumption reasoned that it is not easy for most businesses in the fast food industry to completely shift to a more sustainable option.
For the owners, most of the respondents answered that they consider searching and using alternatives to further promote sustainable practices. These demonstrate how businesses can be aware of the current ecological problems and be willing to take part in environmental causes.
For research question 3, a total of 89% formed the valid responses believe that being environmentally conscious is essential in the operations of the fast food industry, since for respondents, businesses must practice social responsibility, which includes environmental awareness and sustainable operations. Based on the responses, there are numerous ways where the fast food chains can still maintain their operations while practicing sustainability. In terms of packaging, fast food restaurants should use biodegradable materials like bamboo or metal straws instead of plastic straws, choosing to use compostable containers over styrofoam, and using paper bags or eco bags rather than using plastic bags in takeouts. Fast food restaurants may also implement a no plastic policy where customers must bring their containers, making them eligible for discounts and promos. Few of the respondents also mentioned that zero waste management from waste reduction to waste disposal must be practiced by said businesses. Lastly, the responses also include reduce, reuse, and recycle as another way for fast food restaurants to practice sustainable operations. Next.
Research question 4, sustainability in operations. Fast food owners said environmentally conscious and sustainable operations are essential in the fast food industry. Fast food business is one of the largest contributors to pollution. By having a sustainable business operation, it is beneficial for the environment and the future generation. Owner said the food market commodity resulted in unsustainable behaviors. Since food is exchanged in most part of the world on a commercial basis, food is distinct from any other market commodities in that it's directly related to our human existence. To put it in another way, eating is the same as living. Owners also use the social media as a marketing tool. Practices that contribute to the image of the company plays a huge role in the operations of the company because the image can affect the demand of any product. Social media helps show that they try to support sustainability. So, how do they improve? Osterwalder's business model states that by providing value to consumers by giving incentives to an act, it can help with having a sustainable practice. To help reduce carbon footprint, companies can source locally made products, And the improvement on communication of consumers and employees can help build a sustainable environment. In conclusion, the food system is broken because of its market commodity element. Each of these behaviors has a direct or indirect consequences that may be traced back to the operations of the company. I need to transition to sustainable business that is environmentally friendly. Limitations of the study includes literature, which is published research is often accompanied by a price, sample size, because the current pandemic has been a real hindrance, time, which has always been a constraint in any research. In the future of the study, we will talk about the need to be validated and be able to explore other perspectives of the study and to be able to inform the public about our study. These are our references. Thank you for listening.